Hey ecology students, it's your instructor Karen Klein. How are you all doing today? This video is meant to go over how to make a research poster. You are going to construct a research poster out of one of the many research projects we did this semester, and it is due on Friday, December 3rd. Now this video tutorial is for you to view if you came to the lab on how to do this and need a refresher, or if you were not able to come to the lab, this is actually what we talked about during that particular session. Before we go ahead and get started, I will apologize for my lack of technological skills as well as high-grade professional equipment. I think the sound is probably very tinny. I apologize for that, but that being said, we'll go ahead and we'll get started. So what you want to do is go to your weekly learning content and scroll down to week 11's folder. And where all of this is found is in your lab folder, in week 11's folder. And there is yet another folder as far as all the research poster information that you need to know to make your research poster. So we'll go ahead and get started. As far as the activities that you can choose from to make your research poster, these are listed here. The monarch population study, the turtles at Green Pond, the salamander survey, or the red-winged blackbird nest survey. And this is where they can be found, which folders the original lab document and all of the data can be found that you'll need to construct your poster. Now, what I don't have written here, and just in case I forget to say it, is that you can work on this research poster in groups if you want to. That is totally up to you. So you can work by yourself, you can work in a group of 2. Heck, the entire class can just turn in one research poster. I've never had that happen before, but you know what I mean. So it can be a group project or not. So just going to go over this line by line on how to construct a research poster. A little bit of background for you. So professional scientists, whether in industry or academia, regularly gather to share their research in workshops, symposia, and conferences. Some of these events can be local, national, or international. Presentations can be active in format, where one would address an audience, give an overview of your research, or more than not, they're passive in nature, where what a researcher would do is that they would make a research poster. And then they would stand by their research poster amongst, hundreds of other researchers with their posters during a certain time of the day. And then people could just walk through and view the posters and then ask the researcher questions about that. Now, either way, as far as these conferences and workshops and symposia, if your research gets accepted for you to present your research at these conferences, that is a really big deal. So this is what a lot of researchers do, is they try to get their research accepted at one of these conferences. So you are going to be making a professional academic research poster. So throughout the semester, we were engaged in many research endeavors, and you're going to make a research poster about one of them, and I showed you that list. So what research posters do is they summarize your research in a brief format. They include pictures and tables and graphs, if applicable. For yours, they should have at least a table or a graph, but we can get to that. They're not too wordy, and they should be visually interesting and attractive. So as much as the content is important, looks count for this particular assignment. So please keep in mind, you are not handing in an actual poster. No trips to the craft store, nothing to buy, no glitter, no Michael's Crafts or Hobby Lobby or Walmart runs or Target runs to buy a big poster board. You're doing a digital version. Thank goodness for you, right? It's a digital version. It's either going to be a PowerPoint or a PDF. Now, as you'll see in a bit, the template that you can use is a PowerPoint template. If you don't have it's something that supports PowerPoint, you do have to convert it to a PDF. You can't use Google Slides or Prezi for the assignment because not everyone's computers can open them. And also, it's a still poster. It shouldn't have all the like graphics that buzz in and buzz out, or the video clips or anything like that. Now, there are past research posters across from Penn 225 on the second floor of Penn Hall. If you want to see some examples, most of them are printed out in black and white, unfortunately. But really important that I display everybody's posters, and not all of them are great, and not everybody followed the rubric, but it would seem kind of crappy for me to like not display people's posters just because maybe they didn't do a good job. So I put all of them up for display, or the rubric might have changed since those were done. So your poster may look slightly different than theirs. Okay, so tips on making your poster. Now, I do have a template. You have to scroll further down, and I'll show it to you. But, well, you know what? Let me show it to you now. With the program I'm using to record this, I can't click on the template, but you can download it right there. Because if I click on it, it won't go to that screen anyway. So I made a screenshot of what the template looks like, but you can't do work in this screenshot, obviously. I'll scroll back up and you can download the template and follow along if you want to. So first you want to choose your topic, and it has to be one of those on the list. You download the template from Blackboard. You can Google research poster template that you find online. There's many of them. Sometimes you pay for them. Don't do that, please. But this assignment is really specific. Like, if you don't follow the template that I have, which is further down, scroll down, you'll lose points. It might be a really nice looking research poster, but if it doesn't have what the rubric for this assignment has specifically, you will lose points. We don't want that to happen. So I strongly recommend you use the one that's provided, but that's up to you. Your next strategy then, after you download the template, and since it is a PowerPoint template, all you do is you click on, for instance, when you put your title in, you just click on it and then replace it with the title of your research poster. It's with all of these. Like, for instance, here's name of authors. You click on that, and then you just replace it with your name or names, the department, the institution, the course number, the course name, the institution logo, which you just do a Google search for that. So you just click on these and then replace what's here with your information. Okay, we'll go back up. So number 3, fill out the basic information on the template. Make sure it goes where it's supposed to go. And then you should choose the title. It should be descriptive and specific to what was done, okay? Like, for instance, when we did the salamander survey, the title of your poster shouldn't just be salamanders, because what the title has to do is it has to, after reading the title, the reader should know what your research was about specifically. And if you just say salamanders, I mean, that's way too vague. So a more appropriate title would be, for your poster, if you're doing that one, would be Habitat Preferences of the Redback Salamander, Plethodon cinereus, which is the Latin name, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. It gives the location where you did it. So that's very specific. So a reader can look at the title and they'll know what your poster is specifically about, what your research was about. Now, the next strategy I recommend is that then go ahead and put the photos on your poster. Now, if you go into the labs that we did, I uploaded photos to some of them, but not all of them. So if there aren't photos that are in the lab folder, just go to Google Image And like for this, you can like Google redback salamander and then come up and that will give you some photos of redback salamanders. Now, you wouldn't do that on a professional poster. It would only be your research that you would be allowed to take pictures from for a research poster, but we're going to just let that slide. On the template, there are 3 places for photos. I'll scroll down. You should have, in the introduction, you should have a photo of, an introduction and method section, just a photo of, if you're working with an organism, of the specimen itself, like should be a redback salamander. You have another photo on the right-hand side, should also be a redback salamander, or some field method that we did, like for instance, somebody lifting up a rock and looking under it, for instance. And then the middle graphic should be a table or a graph of depicting the results of what we found or what was found. So that is for the photos. And generally, after you've got your title in number 3 and your top part filled out, you plug in your photos. Make sure that the photos look nice, that they're not watermarked if you're using Google Image, and that underneath the photos, you make sure that you describe what the photo is about. Figure 1, change that text. The default text is nice photo related to research activity or some field methods. Make sure you replace that with what the actual photo is depicting. Once you have your photos placed, you just go to your handout and the introduction and materials section. You just summarize those in those categories right off of your lab. The thing is, and the tricky part is, some of these introductions on your lab handouts are like several paragraphs long, and you have to summarize those in 2 to 3 sentences. And that's it. That can be tricky, but make sure it's concise and make sure it is descriptive as well. What you want to be really mindful of is for materials and methods, make sure that it's what we actually did in the field, because some of the labs, when I write them sometimes pretty broadly, because we might be doing some different activities or not doing some activities that are listed on the lab itself, because some of them are weather and equipment dependent, which we may or may not have that particular day. So make sure that you only include the things that we actually did, like in the example here in this, is that like for the green pond, the turtle lab, I think on that lab it says, some of the traps we can use are basking traps. We didn't use basking traps, and if you put that in your materials and methods that we use basking traps, you'll get points taken off for accuracy. We didn't use those, even though it's written in the lab that it's a trap that we might use. Also, almost everybody gets points taken off for this, is that research posters should be written in 3rd person past tense. Don't use I, don't use we, like we did this and we put the traps in the water. We looked for salamanders. I found 2 salamanders. It should be in past tense and 3rd person. And the past tense bit is, the labs are generally written in future tense, like instructing you how to do something, like lift up the rock to look for salamanders, or place bait in the traps and put them in the water. That's future tense. The proper way you would state that is, for the turtles, traps were placed in green pond, or rocks and logs were removed and lifted to look for salamanders. Not future tense would be lift up the rocks to look for salamanders. And then if you then put first person is, I lifted up logs to look for salamanders. Both of those are wrong. So make sure it's in 3rd person past tense. Now for your results section, the results are in the weeks folder that your lab is. And what you want to do for your results is that, again, that middle graphic should be a graph or a table. So the reader can look at your poster and without even reading any of the text and see what your results were. They should be very obvious. But you should also, in the results section, is summarize your results in written form. So if we go down to the template, there's a few sentences there and there's your graph. Or again, it could be a table. I don't think any of these are going to be graphs. I think they'll all be tables. Your discussion and conclusion section, this could be the trickiest to write because it's not in the lab itself. And what this is, it describes the results. It speculates about the results in the section also, in this section. Also for this section, you bring everything full circle and describe the significance, often globally, or the research you carried out. For instance, for the monarch butterfly labs, for the discussion and results section, you may state how this research is important given the threat that monarchs are in danger of becoming extinct in the next 20 years, and this research helps to prevent that. So you kind of get that, right? With the salamanders coming full circle and like relating it to worldwide issues is that, salamanders are very sensitive and an important part of the forest, and they're sensitive as far as habitat needs, and therefore we need to continue monitoring their populations to be sure that forests are healthy, like that kind of a thing. There's an acknowledgement section, and basically you would just thank everyone for who helped you. Like, thank you to Northampton Community College for providing the equipment to carry out this study, or if it's a funded research project, which none of these are, like we would like to thank, and you can use first person here, is I would like to thank the National Science Foundation for providing the funding for this project. And again, none of ours are National Science Foundation funded, but that's where that would go if it is. Now, as far as aesthetics, again, your content's important, but how they look really makes a difference, because you are going to be presenting these posters, or the posters will be presented to the class, and your fellow students are going to be judging your posters on how they look. But just some tips. Be sure you use a basic font. Arial, Calibri are good. Avoid others. Like even Times New Roman looks weird on posters for some reason, even though it's a common font. This isn't the time to be artsy or fancy and use all kinds of funky texts. Make sure that, this isn't an art poster, even though it should look nice. It is a science poster, pretty no nonsense. Be sure that your font is the same color and the same font, right? And be sure it's a dark color. And while a white plain background is standard, it is common and even encouraged to have a very light, faint background color. Please no patterns or photos as backgrounds. This looks great for an art project, but not for a scientific poster. And this is due by Friday, December 3rd. There is a link in week 14's folder. So we see the template, and just to move on here, I have some examples of, like here is a good folder. Here is a good poster that follows the rubric, and I haven't gotten to the rubric yet. I'll get there. Here is your title. It's descriptive. You can tell right away what research was done. You've got the logo, the class name, the class number, the department, the college, name of the college. Here's your introduction. Now this poster has 5 pictures. It's you don't get dinged on your rubric if you have more than 3, but nonetheless. Your introduction, your methods, your results, your discussion, your acknowledgments, some very nice photographs of the topic, and here is your results table. It stands out. You can see what's going on in that results table. Follows the rubric, ticks off all the boxes on the rubric. It's a light pale background. And then we get to a poster that doesn't follow the rubric. Yikes. I don't even know where to begin, and I purposely made this to look really bad. This wasn't an actual student's poster, but you see the title is just lab project that says really nothing, and I can't even see it actually as far as what all this is, but way too wordy. The font is tiny, you can't even read it. Someone just copied and pasted the lab handout onto a poster. It's not what you're supposed to do. There's no results table or graph. There's a picture there of marigolds. We could assume maybe it's about marigolds. You've got different colors of fonts. You've got fancy, funky, weirdo fonts. You've got this really busy background. That's pretty bad. And here is your rubric. You make sure you just tick off all the boxes as you're going through your poster, as you're putting this together. Just make sure you have all of these elements. I award up to 35 points of this 50-point assignment. And this is just how I do it. I just go through the poster that you hand in, I check all these boxes off. If all of this is correct, for instance, you get for the title and everything all 5 points. And then I'll go through and grade your poster, your introduction, your methods, materials, your results, your discussion, your acknowledgments, spelling and grammar. They count. And then you are going to be presenting these posters the following week. It's a passive presentation. You don't get up and describe your own poster. We just show the posters to the class, and then we evaluate them, and here are the 15 points that your fellow students will award to you. And it's how the posters look. So overall poster looks organized, not too busy and cluttered. Overall poster catches the eye. Overall poster can be assessed in 20 seconds. Sections are brief and not too wordy or detailed. Photographs are effective, relevant, and aesthetically pleasing. Now, my advice is, if you're stuck, go ahead. You can ask me questions and tips. You can email me a rough draft version, and I can look at it and even pre-grade it if you want to correct any mistakes before the December 3rd deadline. I'm not sure I have any other advice, but just, definitely make sure you keep on top of it, I guess. It's not due for another 3.5, almost 4 weeks, but please, 3 weeks, right, 3 weeks. So just be sure that you follow the rubric. That's pretty much all I have to say about that. And you do not need to print this out. You just email it, or you'll see the link that it gets emailed to me. Okay, thanks guys, and if you have any other questions, of course, please ask, and take care. Bye.